live for Empire State of Baseball, episode number 152 on this Monday, January the 19th, 2026, airing on Instagram, X, and YouTube, and as always, powered by StreamYard. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the first episode of Empire State of Baseball in the new year. In 2026 now, we're joined by 5. I was told originally that we were missing Corey. We gained 2 more people since Corey decided to go on vacation. Shout out to Teddy. Good to see Teddy here in better spirits. And, of course, we got our guy subbing in for Corey Faz from Shea and Sons, from ESPNYM, from Uncomfortable Conversation, from his new hit show, If I Speak. We got Kicking It with Keef. Keef's in the building. What's up, Keef?
Hello, everybody. I'll speak for Teddy, and I'm very, very happy to be here right now. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a fun episode. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Absolutely. Glad to have you on. This is definitely one of our bigger episodes of the year. Our off-season episodes usually surrounding one particular topic, and with tomorrow's BBWAA Hall of Fame announcement, and again, we're back at it again with our ESBBWAA Hall of Fame announcement later on tonight after all our polls and our ballots have went out over the last 2 months. So we get to see what those results look like. Joe and Teddy are saying hi. Joe, how you doing today, sir?
Raven, hi, pal. We are good. We're healthy, which is something we haven't been able to say in a few weeks. And we're in good spirits, right, Teddy? So, and this is one of my favorite times of the year. This is one of my favorite shows of the year. Hall of Fame talk. I love Hall of Fame talk. Any of the guys who are on Spaces,
kidding.
Any of the guys who are on Spaces know. That's where I come alive. So I'm very excited for this show. I love talking about this. It's a great topic, and I think we're gonna have some fun tonight. Right,
yes,
buddy?
sir. Tom, I know this is one of your favorites. I know the one thing you look forward to every single year we do this is when I get into my monologue and announcement later on today of our results of our ESBBWAA.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Rich who raided his dad's closet yet again so he can look like a real man, dressed up. I don't know why he does this. He looks like a clown, and I don't know who he thinks. He thinks he's Chris Rose.
Says the grown adult man wearing sunglasses for the last 400 days on podcasts. I mean, but yeah, sure. Well, I'm the clown that's raiding my father's closet. Yeah, if anything.
I mean, listen, the sunglasses they help. I got a light right here. You got to keep the glare out of my eyes. If I stop looking at the screen, you guys don't know. It's really a multi-purpose tool here.
Is Roback doing suits nowadays?
You know what? Listen, they're getting into some other. They are getting into some more outerwear. But I have kind of big news on the Roback front. Is they've recently added a bunch of new items to their last call section. Their kind of their clearance section, and you could actually stack that Wospil 15 promo code on top of all those other items, which I think are usually about 30% off. So you really can save a lot. I know we talk about Roback on the show a lot on the top, and I'm sure some people looked at it and like, it's kind of pricey. I don't know if it's worth it. This is the time of year. If you're not sure, check it out. Stuff is already discounted. Stack that promo code on top, and you can really get a good steal. They have things in there. Their polos, hoodies, Q-zips. They got some. They have some fleeces in there. I got one of those, incredibly warm and comfortable. So head over to Roback.com. Use promo code TWASPL15 again, including all in that last call section. Save yourself 15%.
You heard the man. 15% off with the stackable code as well. So follow everything that Tom just told you because he knows a lot more of this stuff than I do. And I usually have my finger on everything.
Not hard.
But the Roback rundown. We got 2 big segments for today. We're going to run down the BBWAA's class of 2026 nominees. We're probably not going to get into all 27, to be honest, but we're going to get into those nominees heading into tomorrow's real life announcement. That's going to be over on MLB Network at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we get to find out who's going to join Jeff Kent in the class of 2026, if anybody joins Jeff Kent in the class of 2026. And then we're going to wrap things up with the results of our ESBBWAA 2026 elections between all our polls and our ballots. And again, thank you everybody who participated in all the voting over the last 2 months. Really do appreciate it. We'll get into that later on today. But before we start our show,
for Rich's monologue later,
let's take a look at the chat.
Wait. Before we get to the check, if you're watching, can we like the stream, people? 4 likes is not good enough. Let's go. Sorry, boss.
Oh, listen, Keef's is doing the job that we all should be doing here. Yes,
Crazy.
Absolutely. If you're here,
let's go. Like it up.
Like the stream. If you are here and you're subbing, thank you so much. If you're not subbing, I don't know what you're doing. Make sure to sub here to Empire State of Baseball. We're getting close to the 550 mark, which again, we're in the infancy stage here. We're very proud of our 546 subscribers, but we're obviously looking to gain a little bit more as we head into the 2026 baseball season. As of right now, the only guaranteed baseball season that's happening in the horizon. But let's take a look at the chat. Shout out to our guy Hector, who rolled up here, said, "What's up, ESB family?" Shout out to our guy Macho. Stop yelling, Hector. Shout out to Chris Torres in the building. We got Hitman, the subscriber of 2025. Alex, shout out to you, sir. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Ibby. Ibby's in the building. Good to see Matt and the co-host of hold me to this. The co-host of Till Mets Do Us Part. Great Mets pod. You guys got to check them out. They do a great job out there. Shout out to Ibby, who we will definitely have on for a future ESB episode, possible creator spotlight down the line.
Good guy.
Shout out to CK, another creator spotlight future. Was actually on our previous episode of ESB around our Empire Elephant. He says, Rich looking like James Bond for the new season. Chris Kalish starting his own new season over at Pinstripes and Century with Anthony and their new co-host, Nicolette, if I got that right. I apologize if I did not. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to Alana. She goes, "Hi, Teddy Bear." Shout out to Joe. And poor Teddy's getting covered by our cards here, our comments. Right. I apologize there, Teddy. Shout out to Joey Bag of Donuts, one of the newest voices of ESB NYY's up Bronx Take. The guy wearing sunglasses inside said the guy in a suit as a clown is classic. Do you want to respond to that, Tom?
You want to earmuff Teddy real quick?
No, I think it's heard worse.
Fuck off, Joey.
All right, there. Sure. Shout out to Jordan. Shout out to Susan. Shout out to my guy Joe. Special shout out to my guy Josh. What's up, everybody? Thank you all for joining us here. We have about 59 people in the building. So thank you all for tuning in. We're 7 minutes into the damn thing, but let's start the damn thing with our class of BBWAA 2026. Now, how we're going to do this, we're going to go through the ballots compared to last year and seeing how the voting kind of worked out. And if you guys are seeing the 27 names up here, listen, if you filled out a ballot, you already know the deal. You've seen these 27 names over these last couple of months. But if your first time seeing a lot of these names, you're probably wondering how the hell the guys like Gio Gonzalez and Howie Kendrick and Nick Markakis get on this ballot. Well, look, this ballot's not the sexiest. I'll say the least here. It is a ballot made up of fan favorites, but not a lot of for sure Hall of Famers in this list. Now, our guy Corey Fabs couldn't attend tonight's episode. He's in Cancun enjoying his vacation. Shout out to Corey Fabs, but this is his voting distribution from 2025 to 2026. He relatively consistent. And if I would ask Corey Fabs, what changed between last year and this year? He had Beltran and Jones off his ballot. This year, he had Beltran and Jones on his ballot. Now, Joe, Tom, and even Keefe here, one thing we've always talked about, one annoyance we find about these Hall of Fame ballots is what changed in your voting process, because none of these players went back on the field and started playing again. Shouldn't it just consistently always be, if you're voting for Beltran last year, you're voting for Beltran this year, and you're going to keep that line moving? Like, Joe, Tom, your thoughts on that voting? Because we've seen it from the real BBWAA. People just change their votes over time. They fall in love with certain people that didn't vote years ago. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing with the Hall of Fame voting. You know, again, we're going a lot of what we say, it takes the steroid users aside. I believe, if I remember correctly, Corey did not vote for Beltran last year as a punishment for the whole scandal of the Astros. But as far as Andrew Jones, I don't know what changed in him. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the frustrating things. And listen, guys can get things wrong. We're all human. You could look at the numbers one year and not think and come to a different conclusion than you look at them last year. And I think that's why, you know, we have a 10-year process, is so over time, as your opinions change, whether it's on baseball, on a particular player, on particular stats or numbers, you have that chance to look at the roster and say, man, maybe that guy was better than I remember. Maybe that guy was more significant to the game of baseball than I remember. You also see guys now that aren't doing the same thing that those guys did. So,
well, I guess just my pushback there, and Joe, I don't totally disagree when it comes to us schmucks here voting for, a fake Hall of Fame ballot. But those who are being tasked with the BBWAA, I mean, that's an honor. And that's something I would think if I had a vote, I'm putting in all the time and effort on all 27 names here to dictate who deserves to get to the Hall of Fame, not. So to go from 1 year and saying, okay, like, one guy he doesn't miss the mark to the next year saying, oh, you know what? I decided I think it's time for him to go in. I think it's a little ridiculous. There should be a little bit more consistency here, no?
I think there should be. You can't be like, there's some people who put a guy on 1 year, guy off the next year, guy back on. That's the kind of thing. If you go 2 or 3 years and you don't think a guy's a Hall of Famer and then you start voting for him, I can understand that. But once you start voting for him to then take them off is kind of the question. If you thought it once, why wouldn't he be now? So and listen, it's an opinion-based thing. I'm a small hall guy. You'll see my ballot, and I'll probably get a lot of flack for it. But I think that Hall of Fame is reserved for the greats. And to me, I want what I call as few steps as possible in the Hall of Fame. What do I mean by that? I mean, there is a platform for the best players of all time. And once you step down from that, there's everybody else. And if you step down one more time, you're Hall of Very Good. So I don't want 5, 6, 7 step downs between this group of Hall of Famers and that group of Hall of Famers. I want my Hall of Famers to be immortal. So listen, there's a couple things, and here's my ballot. Carlos Beltran, I've been consistent on that. Felix, I spent so much time thinking about Felix. I've gone back and forth so many times. And the struggle I'm having with Felix is basically the plight of what the modern pitcher is. So that's a whole nother thing. We can get into that. So I'm not talking for 10 minutes straight.
No one wants that.
But Felix, if you look at Felix, he is without a doubt for a 5-6 year run, one of the best pitchers in the AL during his time. One of the best pitchers in baseball, one of the top 2-3 pitchers in baseball. The problem is it's a 6-year run. Mm-hmm. He's not that from 05 to 08. He's not one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's not one of the best pitchers in baseball from 2016 onwards. So it's 09 to 2014. Is that enough? And I don't know the answer to that. I go back and forth every single year, and I don't know. And because to me, he's good enough to be one of the best pitchers in baseball for 6 years, but he's not as good as Verlander. He's not as good as Scherzer. He's not as good as Kershaw, all who played in his era. And for me, if you're not as good as those guys who played in your era, you're not as good. You don't belong in the same conversation with them. This was my problem with CC Sabathia when we went back last year. My problem was he wasn't as good as guys he played with. He wasn't as good as Roy Halladay. And so when I said that, I looked at it, I'm like, I got 3 guys coming up in the next few years that all played at the same time. They're all better than him. Maybe that to me signifies a step down.
Was your hitch of just you didn't like the idea of having him as a first ballot Hall of Famer, and you were like, well, if I get back to it next year, I think I put him in for my ballot? You think that?
No, I'm weighing, and I don't do this with position players. Usually, if I'm firm on a position player, that's one thing. It's weighing the length of dominance with their whole career, right? And his length of dominance was 6 years. And we're going to have this problem. We're going to have this problem with Sale. We're going to have this problem with DeGrom. We're going to have this problem with a lot of modern pitchers that don't have the counting stats. And my problem with Felix was his career was done at the age of 29. I mean, at the age of 29, he wasn't a Hall of Fame pitcher. And I can't say that about him.
Staying on Felix Hernandez, KEEF, interesting enough, when we pull up your ballots, you actually had Felix last year in yours in 2025. Actually had 10 nominees filled out. This year, you downsized to 4, leaving King Felix off this time. Was their reason to omit Felix Hernandez in 2026 for you?
Yeah, I mean, I have a real soft spot for Felix Hernandez because that run was somewhat special for me because I did enjoy watching him. That was like some of my prime years as a youth watching baseball and seeing him pitch during that time. He was so much fun to watch, and watching those no-hitters and just doing what he did for Seattle was so much fun to watch. But, you know, there's just a fine line between Hall of Fame and Hall of Very Good, like Joe was saying. And he just, if the longevity was there, he probably gets in. I mean, even with the tail off towards the end, he almost has a 50 WAR for his career. Mm-hmm. If you just give him probably another 8 years or so, he probably gets close to maybe a 70 WAR, which is like kind of getting you in more or less. His dominance, though, like that little run was so good. That's why it's like, you know what, it was. I give him a vote, but then when you kind of look at it from like, a deeper lens, it's like, that run was good, but it was just a run. It wasn't a career. And when you want to go into the Hall of Fame, I think your entire like resume from start to end needs to be Hall of Fame worthy. It sucks because I'm a huge fan. My list, if you go back to it, I did put a lot of guys in there first off that are guys that I just had a lot of respect for. But when I saw the ballot this year, I just felt like like for me, I mean, I don't want to get into the steroid stuff, but like for me, Manny and A-Rod, I don't want to do that. I've seen this show before. I don't. We walk down a crazy line, but Manny Ramirez and Alex Rodriguez in my eyes are Hall of Famers. Like without, like nothing would change my mind on that. The story of baseball is not written without those guys. That's some of the best baseball I've ever seen was coming from their at-bats and what they did on the baseball field. But Andrew Jones and Carlos Beltran, to me, are the headliners, mainly specifically Beltran. I know I voted for, like, Rollins. I voted for, Wright. That was just me being, a truest to my time of baseball, even Pedroia. But truthfully, I stood true. I kind of carried over my consistency with Beltran, Jones, Manny, and A-Rod. But this class is kind of underwhelming, if I'm being totally honest with you. And we might have a little bit of an underwhelming few years before we kind of get to big dogs. So it's a lot of Hall of Very Good. And I actually think, to Joe's point, this is actually really healthy coming up, like a healthy time coming up for a lot of these writers to really like understand. Like some of these guys are not amongst like the elite of the elite. They're very good, though. They're just very good. But that's pretty much my
in 2 years, St. Louis Cardinals fans are going to have a reason to go out to Cooperstown with the potential that Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols go in on the same first-year ballot. So it'd be very interesting in a couple of years' time. Chat, before I go over to Tom, chat, what's your feeling on PED users when it comes to Hall of Fame election? Do you think PED users should be barred regardless of suspension, just guilty by association? Throw it in the chat. What do you guys feel about PED users going into the Hall of Fame? Tom, real quick, we're going to jump all over the place with the ballots. Let's take a look at what you had here. And again, a coloring book compared to what you did this year. Last year, you had Beltran and let's see here. Well, you had the 3 Hall of Famers that went in. Beltran went in, according to you. This year, you're leaving Beltran off, keeping Andrew Jones, Manny, A-Rod. So still fairly consistent. What was your holdup with Carlos Beltran?
So I did a lot more thinking about it this year for the ballot. And I kind of came back to, there was an article a few years ago, Kenley Jansen was quoted and basically said that what happened with the Houston Astros in 2017 is worse than steroids. It's worse than gambling, because if you know what pitch is coming, it is a bigger advantage than what Barry Bonds had, what A-Rod had, Manny, McGuire, Sosa, whoever you want to say. Listen, guys, there's a reason Carlos Beltran was supposed to be the manager of the Mets. He was essentially named the manager of the Mets. A team won't still touch him because of what happened in 2017, where he was really, by all reports, the ringleader of what happened in that clubhouse. And Beltran is, I mean, you take that away, obviously he has a Hall of Fame career. I think statistically, I think if you were talking about a guy who you want to be a manager of a team, but he is, I mean, what team wouldn't want to have him as a kind of that face leader of your team? I think it would sell to fans. It would do really well in the locker room. Switch hitting center fielder, athletic, 5-tool guy. There's a reason why none of these teams want to touch him. And I think I'm of the belief that until the steroid guys get in, no one who was really part of that 2017 Houston team should get in the Hall of Fame. When we get to Jose Altuve, should not get in the Hall of Fame until the steroid guys get in. Because what they did was, in a lot of people's opinions, worse than what steroid users were doing. I mean, look, Bonds, McGuire, Sosa, Palmeiro, like the big headliners of those steroid users. How many World Series did those guys win? None. They didn't win any.
I mean, the Yankees have 4 steroid users on their team that won 4 World Series.
That's not true.
And Chuck Knobloch was a steroid user. Roger Clemens was a steroid user.
I wasn't on 4 teams.
I'm just saying. A-Rod won a World Series in 2009. He was a steroid user.
That was later. He got.
So I'm just saying. Listen,
my point. No, my point is, Joe, you had enough time. My point is, what happened there, in my opinion, is just as bad, if not worse, than what the steroid guys did. And for that reason, I don't think Carlos Beltran should get in. I don't think you can let him in for being a ringleader of a cheating scandal, which cost it should have been a bigger black eye on baseball. Baseball, frankly, like it had in the past, bitched out and didn't punish them the way they should have. Unfortunately, I think I just has to follow him. For as much as I love to watch
I disagree. It's revisionist history of the 2017 playoffs. I have to get the Yankees couldn't score, and the Dodgers won a couple games on the road. Like I can't. I'm gonna go crazy because the Astros. First of all, sign stealing's been part of baseball for centuries.
Not like what they did.
Oh, but it was yes, they took it to the next level.
Argument to say it's
Ron Maristel's in the Hall of Fame. He cut the ball up for years.
Right.
There guys
Gaylord Perry
ballers in the Hall of Fame after it was banned for a century. Oh, it's so ridiculous.
Big Poppy is in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I get it. All right, 100%. I mean, again, I just think it's Tom. I just think your voting pattern this year is so interesting because for the last few years, and this is not the first time Beltran's been on our ESPB. This is now we're going on the year number 4, and now he's coming off the ballot because of your holdup with 2017. I think is kind of wild.
I just have given it more thought, and I just don't think
more thought than you had in 4 years. I mean, that's
Tom. Rich, I don't know how else you want me to explain it. I've had more thought about it. I've had my time to think about it more. And I just don't think until those other guys, I think if in that last, today's game, whatever ballot they did where Bonds and Clemens were on it, if they would have gotten in, I think I would have voted Beltran. But the fact that you're still keeping those guys out, if you're keeping those guys out for cheating, he should be kept out for cheating. It's as simple as that. Those are better players than him.
It's not the Hall of Squeaky Clean, though.
2017 don't exist if the Yankees scored more than 3 runs in 14.
It has nothing to do with the Yankees. That team cheated.
The Yankees.
Marwin Gonzalez hit like 330.
You want to hear
because of Beltran's ringleading of what he did?
Games of the series 2-1.
I'm not talking about the Yankees. I'm talking about the Astros cheating.
Right.
The entire season.
We wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't for a guy like Mike. We really wouldn't be talking about it if it wasn't for Mike Fires, who was the internal whistleblower anyway. I mean, it was that. It was Danny Farquhar. It was the John Boy video. The Yankees weren't really the ones to point the finger and say, hey, it's those guys over there. I mean, this was something that really came about throughout that season. But off the whole, the damn Astros and the cheating thing, I didn't even want to get there. I was really wanting to talk about the PEDs. And speaking of, let's take a look at the comments here following our question to the chat. CK, PED users should be in the Hall of Fame. Ibby, put them in. Ban Bud Selig from the Hall of Fame. Master Flip, PED was fair game. Let them all in. CK again, PED users shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Not fair to the guys who did. Wait, hold on a second now. Wait a minute.
I know Joe.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You went back and forth here, CK. Which answer are we taking? PEDs you should be honored for saving the sport. And look, here's the thing. My whole thing on PED, and I'll throw it back up to KEEF and around the rest of the room. I know KEEF, you didn't really want to get into it, but we are going to get into it. It's Hall of Fame. It's a big part of the show.
Conversation, KEEF.
You still have, it's an uncomfortable conversation, but you still have two major guys on this current ballot in Alex Rodriguez and Manny Ramirez, who were big faces of this steroid era. Now, when it comes to Manny and A-Rod, for me, I'll put him in my Hall of Fame. Like, Joe, we've been to Cooperstown together. Yep. There's an exhibit literally on display in Cooperstown for putting on for everybody to see the accomplishments of the steroid era. The home run chase between Sosa and McGuire, Barry Bonds, and what he did in 2001.
Yep.
So you guys are going to cherish the accomplishments, but not actually put into players. I know there's a distinction between the writers and the actual folks that set up the National Baseball Hall of Fame, but it's an hypocrisy. If you guys don't want them in, I want to hear nothing about it if I ever go back there again to Cooperstown. So for me, listen, Master Flip mentioned saving the sport. Absolutely put more eyes on the product when you're talking about those heavy hitters and Sosa, and McGuire, and Palmeiro, and Bonds. To me, I think they got to go in. They help tell the story of baseball, even if it's a checkered story of baseball. To me, those guys got to get in. And for years, I had said that they should just get them done in 1 year. So it doesn't have to be a conversation anymore. We're going to get into years of veterans ballots and contemporary era committees where these guys are going to pop back on. I know a couple of them we're not going to see again until the 2030s, but it's going to be another talking point again. I'm done talking about it. These guys should be in. You guys honor the accomplishment, but you don't induct the players. It's the most hypocritical thing that comes out of this Hall of Fame. KEEF, let me throw it to you and to the rest of the room when it comes to PED users and the Hall of Fame.
I mean, like, Brian Giles was a good player, right, guys? He was okay, right? Brian Giles was okay, right? Steroid user, though. He was okay. Steroid user. So we're not talking about the greats of the greats. I don't think steroids is putting Manny Ramirez in the Hall of Fame. I really don't. This is my opinion. I don't think steroids would have done a single thing for A-Rod. I think A-Rod was naturally born to be a Hall of Famer. I truly feel that way. I understand there's advantages. I understand the science. I mean, I'm a big baseball fan like the next person. But when we're talking about the great players of baseball, they were a part of an era that everyone was doing something that they probably should have not have been doing, and I get it, but they were doing it. And I just believe that I've always said to me, like in my mind, if you have to think about it, then they're not a Hall of Famer. But once I hear the name A-Rod and I hear the name Manny, yes, like it's an automatic yes. You can't write that era of baseball without those guys. And I've been to the Hall of Fame, just like you said. That little right turn, the minute you make that little right turn, it's that showcase that's right there, and it has all the steroid users and it has all their accomplishments, praising them. And at the bottom on the glass, it says, "Oh yeah, by the way, they did this and steroids." But like in this big, it's so fucking juvenile now.
Size font.
Yeah, it's so small that, hey, by the way, these guys did this. But there's a huge glass saying, look at this amazing era of these baseball players. And it's just like, look, there were some guys who benefited, sure. There are some guys who they got paid, really, really, really handsomely from it. And, they manipulated their careers from it. But there's just some guys who I just think that, without a doubt, like you blink, they're in the Hall of Fame. And I respect everyone's opinion on this. I understand it. But like for me, like to Flip's point, to your point, there was nothing to me like that era. Truly, there was nothing like that era. It was like must-see TV to watch the most mildest baseball game. You didn't tune in to be like, that guy at third base, yeah, he's taking steroids, and turn the TV off. No, you stood watching because you were watching great players play other great players. Mm-hmm. That's just my opinion on it.
And to talk about saving the sport, it literally brought me into the sport. I had no care for baseball or sports in general.
Really?
That whole era, what was going on,
really,
that caught my interest. I was like,
before you go, like you weren't born into baseball?
No.
That's actually very interesting. The funniest thing. Wow.
So I'm not going to say I don't claim the 90s, but I didn't watch the 90s dynasty. Okay. So the first championship I got to watch and enjoy and remember every single game of is 2009. So for me, I didn't start getting into baseball until 2003. What really got me into it was, yes, these great players, but it was a combination of that. It was a combination of collecting Topps cards, and it was a combination of playing MVP Baseball 2003.
Wow.
Those three all together, that got me into it.
This is probably why you're one of my favorite Yankee fans. This makes a lot of sense, actually.
Okay.
No offense to any other. This makes a lot of sense. But continue. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
No, go ahead.
interrupt.
So here's my thing with the steroids, and I've said this on the show before. I agree with you. Before there was testing, before there was when it was the Wild West in the 80s and 90s, even if it's technically illegal to take a steroid, there's no preventative measures in place to prevent that from happening. Correct. Right? Like that there's no testing, there's no way to prove it, there's nothing. So it's the Wild West. And so for me, I don't have a problem with that. Okay, that was the era of baseball, and that is as much baseball's fault as the players, because there's no prevention for that. It's like banning the spitball and saying the umpire can't check for the pitcher for spit on the ball. Well, what are you going to do if there's no enforcement of the rules? My line becomes where baseball officially bans it, officially tests for it, and says, if you take steroids, you are suspended for half a season, whole season, life. My line in the sand is, if you've served a suspension, you are no longer get to claim that you were in the Wild West. Manny and A-Rod served 2 of the 3 longest steroid suspensions in history. Aside from
A-Rod never failed the test, though.
But A-Rod left the paper trail. We know A-Rod did. He had left the paper trail. They got the receipts of him buying it.
Admitted it.
And he admitted it.
Never failed the test.
Manny, who shouldn't have been taking steroids, was suspended twice while he was on the White Sox and the Tampa Bay Rays, or the Dodgers and the Tampa Bay Rays. So for me, if you've been served a suspension for steroids, that's my line. If you served your suspension, you're out. These 2, Robinson, Cano, and those guys are out.
Keith's got his hand up.
No, I'm trying my best to not be a dick here. I realize it's okay to be a dick here now, but it's fine.
Of course.
I'm not trying to come down your throat here, pause, but
oh my.
What if there's a little bit more of an enhancement on the sticky stuff? Would you consider Max Scherzer not a Hall of Famer because of that? Because he did enhance his performance on the field, no?
Again, baseball kind of left that to interpret. Baseball knew that people were sticking up the ball. I mean, baseball.
But remember now, Joe, they're suspending guys first. So he's been up.
But the suspension is so much light. It's
right. And I get it, but like he's been a multiple time user of it, and he's the greatest pitcher, one of the greatest pitchers of his era. We both agree he's a Hall of Famer. Like we've had that conversation. But like by the parameters you set, and I know it's not the same as steroids, but like he is enhancing his play on the field by a substance, right? And it's a substance that's banned by baseball, right? Yeah. That you can get suspended or fined by. Then it kind of like leaves that weird gray area. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. And again, I think baseball, similar to that, caused a lot of problems because they knew that was going on for years.
Right. That's true.
Years. And baseball allowed it to happen. And then all of a sudden, they had pitchers who were using this stuff for years to get a better grip, whatever. But then the spin rate started exploding when they installed the stat track, and they're like, hold on a second, wait a second. Yeah. And all of a sudden they started figuring out that the problem with the sticky stuff is all the teams were doing it. Mm-hmm. All these teams had guys working on the sticky stuff, all that stuff. So I think that's a little bit of a case where baseball kind of created the environment and the players took it and the teams took advantage of it. But the steroids, again, baseball drew a hard line in the sand in 2003. They told the world it was coming. Congress was subpoenaing players to testify. This was a national issue. And when you drew the line in the sand, you'd figure that the players knew the stakes, that if they took it after this line, they were toast. And that's my problem, is you had guys, and Robinson, Cano, and Manny in particular. A-Rod is a slightly different story because of the paper trail. Tom said he never failed to test officially. But Manny and Cano did this for 10 years after, 20 years after the line in the sand was drawn. There's no excuse.
Let me take a look at the chat real quick as people are pouring in. 129 people in the building. Really do appreciate it on this March.
So wait, if there's 129 people, there should be 129 likes. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm getting annoyed here. Let's go.
Right.
Stop. Sorry, boss.
He's getting more annoyed than I am.
There's 11 likes here. I'm watching on my phone. There's 11 likes. Not good enough.
I'm a humble guy. Listen, at your convenience, if you guys don't mind liking the video, that'd be fantastic. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe to Empire State of Baseball. We are on the road to 550, which is like 4 fucking subs away. I mean, there's got to be 4 people.
Yeah, let's go. Come on.
Right? There's got to be 4, right? We're going to find you. We're going to find you. All right. Let's take a look at the chat here. Phil from Shirley goes, plus 350, Rich is wearing pants. Any takers? You will never know, Phil. You'll never know. Phil also adds here, if you didn't fail a test, you should be in. Hitman, PED users should be in the Hall of Fame. The McGuire Sosa home run chase alone brought baseball back after that strike in 1994. Chris, who's in the building. Shout out to Chris, host of A Bronx Take. KEEF is the hottest man on the show. Look at Chris sipping for KEEF, man. KEEF with the biggest pause ever. And Ibanez, huge pause there. And now sticky stuff, Lloyd. This is why we are not a PG show, Maddie. We are not a PG show. Definitely tuck the kids in early. I mean, unless you're Teddy. Teddy gets, I don't know why. Teddy comes through and he is just learning way too much at such an early age from us grotesque human beings. One last person I do want to touch on. And by the way, all this was great. Great conversation around steroids and some of the qualities that it takes to get into the Hall of Fame. But I want to talk about one player in particular who's quickly approaching one of his final ballots, and that's Andrew Jones. Pride of Curacao. Andrew Jones has been a favorite here of the BBWAA election committee because he was elected in our exercise 2 years ago. Last year didn't have such luck. But Andrew Jones is one of those interesting cases, Tom, and many pundits are saying this could be the year that Jones legitimately goes in. What are your thoughts?
So here's kind of, and this is also where the kind of go back to the Beltran thing. You said, how did it change my mind? I came a little bit to the realization this year is I've seen a lot of baseball. Rich, I mean, I'm not to stunt on Rich, but I did watch in the 90s a lot. Baseball, the Yankees are really big in my family. I've watched the Yankees 95, 96. I was 5 years old, but I was still watching. I've seen a lot of baseball, and I have come to the conclusion that I know what a Hall of Famer is when I see one at this point. I've gone down the WAR rabbit hole. I've gone down the OPS rabbit hole, and how many awards did you win, and how many times you're an all-star. And listen, I know a Hall of Famer when I see one, and Andrew Jones was a Hall of Famer in my opinion. He was the best defensive center fielder, playing the hardest defensive position. He was the best at it, and he was an incredible hitter. Joe's going to say he fell off when he hit 30. Yeah, he did. Now, listen, is some of that probably due to the level of athleticism he played with in center field and the diving catches kind of takes some toll on his body? I would say there's a good chance of that. I understand he falls off. I think there's a stretch there where he is one of the best players in the game. And I think to be a Hall of Famer, especially at your position, you have to be one of the best players in your position, for a 5, 6, 7, 8 year span where you're like, this guy is truly, he's not just he's a reserve all-star. He's he's a bona fide stud on the team. And that's just what I think about Andrew Jones. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I've been on that block. I hope he gets in because I think he was a really special player, and I think it'd be awesome if he made it.
Joe, you've been pretty consistent with your contention with Andrew Jones not going into the Hall of Fame, and that was legitimized with your ballot again, leaving him off this round for the Hall of Fame.
My problem is offensively, and it's curious because we talked about Felix before. Andrew Jones has a very similar career trajectory as Felix. He was great, and I dare say even more, even for a longer period than Felix. Yes, one of the best defensive outfielders I've seen, one of the best defensive center fielders I've seen in my lifetime. My problem is, once he hit the age of 30, I mean, Rich, you can put the numbers back up. That's not a Hall of Famer. He had 214 from the age of 30 to 35. And this is not, this wasn't over a small set. It's 600, this was close to 600 games, 2,000 plate appearances where he hit 214. Can somebody find me a Hall of Famer who from the age of 30 to 35 forget 214, hit 235? The answer is they don't exist. And that's my problem with Andrew Jones is, and yes, we know now that the prime of a player's career is not the 28 to 32 we originally thought. We know the prime is usually earlier than that. Mm-hmm. The point is still the same. He wasn't even a replacement level player at the end of his career. He had a decent half season with the Yankees. I'll give him that. But he was, I mean, he signed the contract with the Dodgers. He was awful. He won 58 in his age 31 season. I mean, and so when I look at the Hall of Fame, I gotta say, what Hall of Famers not only fell off, I mean, fell off a cliff. I mean, he was one bad week away from being out of the league.
So Joe, I have an issue with that standpoint, because essentially, like, if I were to flip Andrew Jones's stat line, and let's just say the first, those last 5 years was his first 5 years, and then he had the middle of his career that he had, and then you take the very beginning and kind of throw it to the bottom. I mean, you're talking about a Hall of Famer. And there's a similar player who actually went to the Hall of Fame with that kind of trajectory. Adrian Beltre. Adrian Beltre was a novice baseball player for the first 7 years of his career. Turned it up when he actually got to Texas. Yes, he had the one year in LA where he hit a bunch of home runs, was up for the MVP. But at the tail end of his career, that's what got him into the Hall of Fame. And to me, I'm not even looking at, what you did at the back end or what you did in the front. I'm looking at the entire picture, and the entire picture screams Hall of Fame. The overall numbers, the 10-time Gold Gloves, being able to do it on both sides of the ball. And Joe, you said it yourself, when it comes to certain Hall of Famers, you look at period of peak performance, and Andrew Jones had such a successful career that's almost hidden because it's in the same years of Sosa and Manny and Barry Bonds. So it's hard to throw him into that conversation. But to me, Jones is a Hall of Famer based on the overall body work. I'm not trying to look at the last 5 years, because I know the last 5 years spells a completely different player from what he was in Atlanta. He was a shell of himself. But to me, I think it's kind of unfair to look at that and say, you know what? He was on that trajectory, but it takes him out of the Hall of Fame. When Beltre himself, in his first 7 years, didn't have much of a. He wasn't even really considered a Hall of Very Good.
Well, let's go to the numbers then. Like, if you look at the numbers, Jones doesn't even have 2,000 hits. He doesn't have 400 doubles. He doesn't even have 1,300 RBIs. If you go to Beltre's career, he's got 3,000 hits. He's got 2,200 hits more than him. We could say that the first half of the first 4 or 5 years was unremarkable, but he's got 1,700 RBIs, Rich. You're acting like Adrian Beltre doesn't have the numbers to back it up.
No, he doesn't. I never said he should be a Hall of Famer. He should be a Hall of Famer, absolutely. No, but this guy should also be a Hall of Famer.
He's a 286 batter. Jones is 32 points less than him in the batting average. I gotta say, like, I'm looking at the whole package, and I get the defense is on another level, but I'm sorry, less than 2,000 hits. You have to be so immaculate in the rest of you. You have to be Aaron Judge is never getting to 2,000 hits, right? Like, we all agree with that. But Aaron Judge is so immaculate. He just doesn't have enough time. He's so immaculate and everything else. He's probably going to the Hall of Fame. Barring him hitting 210 the rest of his career, which he's not going to do. We all know that. That's my problem. Is the accumulation? It just falls short. All right, he's got a lot of home runs, 434 home runs. That's around what the threshold is. But if I look at the other numbers, none of the other numbers pass the test. I want close to 1,500 RBIs. I want over 2,000 hits, and even 2,000. That's light. 400 doubles. That's not there. He's not that bad. And even 400 doubles is light. So I got to look at it and say, I just don't see enough beyond the defense offensively to get me there.
Real quick, before we move on to our results, which are coming up shortly. Again, shout out to everybody in here. 170 now and counting in the building. Let's take a look at the ballot one more time. Now, is there anybody, and we'll start with Keefe and then work our way to Tom, then Joe. Is there anybody on this list here that we really didn't cover that you want to maybe shout out, send us some love to, somebody that we really haven't talked about all day today? Keefe, you can go ahead first.
No, because it's probably going to be Chase Utley, and I refuse to say his name with the Hall of Fame.
Well, can we do this? Can we go back to Rich's ballot for a second?
I'm going to go to my ballot.
Wait. Before we go to that ballot, I just want to say, Joe, you have a compelling case. You're not crazy. I'm looking at Baseball Reference. You know what it is? And this is going to sound crazy. I know these are two different people, but I have this argument with my brother about Ozzie Smith, right?
Yep.
Defensive wizard, 13-time Gold Glover, Silver Slugger, World Series winner. If you look at his offensive stats, they're putrid, respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
They're putrid for a Hall of Famer. Yep. So he got in on defense.
Yeah.
So what I did was I looked at Jones. I just looked at Andrew Jones and I just looked at Beltran, right? And I compared them, and pretty much Andrew Jones is getting in because of defense. If you're being honest about it, 10-time Gold Glover. I mean, if I have to be honest with you, as much as I revere Carlos Beltran, Andrew Jones, you could say he shaped center field differently during his time. So like Tom said, and this is a good point, and I know it combats Joe's point, but Tom, I'm understanding what he's saying because you can see why some writers might feel this way, the eye test versus the actual statistics. That's what it feels like we're dealing with, because so many people did watch Andrew Jones in his prime, and they just remember just some of the most godly moments that he made in center field, which is, to Tom's point, the hardest position defensively to play. You know, it's hard to sit there and say, Jesus Christ, how could we leave this guy out? Plus, he had some really good offensive years, fair enough. But if you really get to the nitty gritty of it, statistically, he just doesn't. Joe's not wrong. Like, Joe's making valid points. He has the home runs. Honestly, that's really it.
I do. And listen, I understand Joe's point. I think it's a fair argument. I think where I just net out eventually is we have to look at these players in a blended way. And we don't watch baseball on Baseball Reference.
That's correct.
We don't, look at, I mean, none of us have a newspaper anymore, but we don't watch the game through a box score. You have to watch it with your eyes. And I think there's also a part, and you may disagree with this if you want, but there's also a part of a Hall of Famer where a Hall of Famer is more than just their statistics. It's kind of like how they carry themselves. Like, were they a big name? I do think that matters. Guys, sports are entertainment. They're here to entertain us.
About to kill Rich.
And what I mean, Andrew
Tom's
Jones,
just saying, fuck Kurt Schilling. That's what Tom just said. Fuck Kurt Schilling.
That's not what I just said. I agree with that sentiment.
Shit.
That's not what I said. My point is that sports are here to entertain us. And for an era of people watching Sports Center in the early 2000s, late 90s, you were just watching. You were tuning in also to see Andrew Jones diving catch. That was a staple of your morning with your bowl of Rice Krispies. That's what you came to see, and I think that's important. And he was part of that.
The defense is certainly an argument, but I do want to get to Rich's ballot before we have to.
Yeah.
I was gonna have one more guy too.
Rich. Okay. We got to have a conversation.
What the
here.
fuck is
No,
this?
we don't have to.
Do we?
I know exactly what.
Do
It's the same
you
conversation.
really think Jimmy Rollins is a Hall of Famer? Come on. I'll give you a pass on Felix. We talked about that. Vizquel has other issues. I could get into K-Rod all day on whether, if your life is on the line, you trust K-Rod in a big situation. I watched them. I know that you should. Do we really think Jimmy Rollins is a Hall of Famer, Rich?
We had to fill out 10 of these, at least in because listen, I know, I get it. Tom, Joe, and I are different Hall of Fame voters. Tom and Joe and even Corey are small hall guys, and I respect that course of thinking. listen, if you want to go to Disney World and wait online for 3 hours for a 2-minute ride, you can do that. I like to see as many people in the Hall of Fame as possible if I'm paying a ticket to go.
You were there last year. The Hall of Fame is there's the plaque room. I forget exactly what it's called, where you can see all the guys' plaques. There's a whole museum. Jimmy Rollins should be in the rest of that whole museum. But like, you don't need just because they're not in the plaque room does not mean that they're not listed and they're not a member of telling the story of baseball. And I think that's where I know KEEF, especially you on your ballot from last year, this year dropped a lot of guys off. And I think I wonder if you kind of came to the realization of just because Dustin Pedroia isn't a Hall of Famer doesn't mean wasn't a awesome player to watch. Doesn't mean he'd be a cool guy to talk about.
I agree with that point.
He's just not a Hall of Famer.
I think
the career OPS of 95. I mean, he was a below average hitter for the majority of his career. Don't get me wrong, he had a great 2 or 3 seasons with the Phillies. He was a really good, scrappy player. Hall of Famer? We got 10 shortstops in baseball that have better statistics than him right now.
Wait, go put your ballot up again.
OPS plus is close to Volpe's.
Rich, why? Okay, I have to ask. Rollins and Utley weren't on your ballot last year. What changed?
So what I did with this, okay, well, first three guys went in last year, so I had to fill out some spots. Now, again,
Rich always votes
for 10. First time that you're actually kind of viewing this. I always fill 10. I always
all right, fair enough.
That's always been my thing. I've always filled 10. Because for the sake of the exercise, I want to make sure somebody gets into the Hall of Fame. So if I plot out 10, now in reality, if you're giving me a BBWAA vote, realistically, and I'm going to tell you guys this, there was another ballot filled out. Beltran, King Felix, Andrew Jones, Manny, and A-Rod was on that ballot. So those 5, I'm fully in support of going in. Torrey Hunter's on my cusp. I know Phil from Shirley mentioned, that's
the guy I wanted to bring up.
Mention Torrey Hunter because I think Torrey Hunter needs to be looked at. Now, when it comes to the other guys, Joe, there is a comparative between Rollins, Utley, and Pedroia, and I had 2 spots to fill for 3 guys. I did the versus finder right there. Jimmy Rollins and Chase Utley had Dustin Pedroia beat on several categories, so that ultimately won my. I'm just telling you how I voted. I mean, you might not like it, but that's what
my thing is. My thing is, if you compare their career statistics, David Wright's better than both of them.
David Wright can stay healthy. David Wright can stay healthy, though.
He lacked the most important ability.
If you look at his statistics, David Wright played 400 less games than Chase Utley and has the same statistics as Chase Utley with a better batting average, slugging, on base, and OPS.
But I still associate Wright and Mattingly in the same kind of category. I know there was a big conversation on X that was going down. I don't think Mattingly's a Hall of Famer myself.
No.
So in that instance, if Mattingly's not a Hall of Famer, Wright's not a Hall of Famer either.
No, I agree. But what I'm saying is, if the other 2 are Hall of Famers, if you're voting for the other 2, Wright's better than both of them. Objectively, Wright is better than both Utley and Rollins.
The issue with Wright, obviously, other than
it's the back
short at the end.
77 games played in the last 4 years. He also first season.
But like we look at all these guys and other, unless your name is Barry Bonds. The end of your career hurts not your counting numbers, but your average numbers, right? At the end of your career, you're going to have lower batting average. You're going to have, lower slugging. Wright didn't have that because his career was just so quickly cut short. So I think if David Wright played 3 more years, let's just say, and because really he's done it 31. So let's say he plays fully until 36. Let's give him the 5 more years. He's going to get some more counting numbers, but the rest of his average stuff is going to dip. It just we don't see it because his career it happens so quickly. That's the other thing.
And I agree. David, the first 10 years, you can compare him to any third baseman in history. He stacks up, right?
You're basically saying like his career ended when Andrew Jones's peak ended, but Andrew Jones kept playing.
And that's my problem. Wright should not be in the Hall of Fame. I 100% agree. But when I compare his numbers to Jimmy Rollins, I got Jimmy Rollins' numbers right here.
If
All
Jimmy
right.
Rollins is a Hall
I'll
of
be honest,
Famer,
guys. I don't think
That's
we need
what-
to argue Jimmy Rollins because only Rich is putting him in, and no one else with a brain.
All right,
is.
Jimmy Rollins has 2,400 hits. He has 231 home runs. Right has more. He's got 936 RBIs. Right
So
has
no
more.
one
He had
thinks
264 and,
he should be in over than
324 on base percentage. Right has more. And Rollins is getting more support for the Hall of Fame than Right is, which is crazy.
I want to again. No one thinks he should be an over, other than Rich being a clown. Again, clown.
Well,
I kind of want to hit quick on Phil's point about Torrey Hunter.
Sure.
I think Torrey Hunter is a diet Andrew Jones. I think he was a very similar player. He didn't do it as I mean, he has similar defensive ability. He hit like 100 less homers. I think if
200 RBI seasons, not enough.
Yeah, Torrey Hunter, and again, loved watching him play. And then just because you're not a Hall of Famer doesn't mean you're not a guy that if you're hanging around, you're having a couple beers with your buddies, and you're like, yo, Torrey Hunter was sick. Like that doesn't take away from talking about Torrey Hunter. Kind of similar to my argument to tie it all back with Beltran. If Andrew Jones isn't a Hall of Famer, then Torrey Hunter is not a Hall of Famer. And if Andrew Jones is a Hall of Famer, I would look closer at Torrey Hunter.
I would agree.
But until Andrew Jones is in, he can't get in over him.
but like he is a tier beneath Andrew Jones, and Andrew Jones we could say is just getting in depending on who you ask.
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
He's
I just want to point. I just want to point something out. This is not an attack on Rich, but if this again, this is not an attack on you. Please do not take it anyway. Big if, because I'm with Joe here, and Tom. If in some magical world Jimmy Rollins is a Hall of Famer, then there's one in Queens right now that's already better than him. It's insane.
Is that Jose Reyes?
No, it's fucking Lindor. Look at
Oh, I
Lindor.
couldn't tell.
If you look at
Terrible
Lindor's
quality.
stats compared to Rollins,
Whoa,
he's almost already passed on every single step, which is insane. That's just me being a Lindor fan.
And again, that goes back to my original point when we opened the show. Is the guy gonna cause a step down when you're walking through the Hall of Fame? Do you have to take a step to a lower level to view these guys on the same level as Mays and Mantle and all these guys? And I get it, not everybody's Mays and Mantle, but the step down for me, if we're talking about Torrey Hunter, for example, if we're going to the great center fielders of all time, his numbers are not in the realm of the great center fielders.
Nope.
He's not even as good. I'm talking like go look up Duke Snyder's numbers, right?
Duke Snyder wasn't catching the ball like Torrey Hunter. Torrey Hunter, another guy who defensively.
I think I'm with Tom here. If
I still
Andrew
think he's
Jones does get in, I think it unlocks a higher potential for Torrey Hunter to eventually get in. And
That's a bad omen, though, don't you think?
But that's my problem. To me, it just lowers the bar, and I don't like lowering the bar.
I like ultimately agree. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. But I think what we get stuck in again a lot this time of year is like, well, this guy's not a Hall of Famer. It's like people then says like, well, then you say Torrey Hunter sucks. It's like no, Torrey Hunter was awesome. But a lot of people when you argue about this, because everything on Twitter is so binary, it's like you are or you aren't a Hall of Famer. Basically, it's like or you are great or you're nobody. You're Anthony Volpe. And it's like no, there's a lot of color in between those two things, and I still people don't miss that.
We're gonna move forward. We're gonna get into our BBWAA results as we're coming up on the 9:00 hour. Shout out to everybody in the building. We have 200 of you here with us today on this Monday, January 19th. Is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Happy MLK Day. Means a lot to everybody in here. That the significant holiday here in American history, significant human being in American history. Shout out to the people who are in here right now. We got Tank in the building. Rich is dressed like he belongs in tier 1, which I gotta listen. I gotta say I've been doing a bad job with our tier list. The last tier list went out about a month ago. We got to get those updated. We got to see if Keith Bonasso makes his way up the list.
Will Salmon, man.
These tier 7 douchebags who make it for the next one. Dude. Okay. I've been getting a lot of flack here.
Yeah.
A lot of flack here. But here's the thing. I feel like I've been doing a service to Will Salmon. Will Salmon at one point was in a dedicated New York tier by him, like with other New York reporters, and no disrespect to the other New York baseball reporters who do such a great job. Will Salmon was breaking national news this year.
Yeah.
He's in a territory now where you're closing in on Jeff Passan. I don't have him in Jeff Passan yet, Keith, because to me, again, I was introduced to Will Salmon last year. I don't know if I can get him into that tier 1, but he is in tier 2.
He's flying, man. Yeah, he's flying up those charts, man.
Killing it.
Yeah,
Absolutely, man.
He really
So
is.
shout out to Will Salmon and what he's doing. My guy, Rich, is Subway to Shea. Our guy, Anthony Rivera. Anthony, great show on Friday. As always, Anthony had Keefe on. Keefe was running the marathon on Friday after the Bo Bichette news dropped. Shout out to our guy, Anthony Rivera in the building. Subway to Shea. My guy, Rich, with the suit and tie. He's giving the call. Is he giving the guys the call to haul? Well, we're going to do our own call to haul. That's why we're wearing the suit. Obviously, I would not wear a fucking suit if we weren't doing anything special tonight. Shout out to Phil from Shirley. We got Lauren in the building. Shout out to Lauren. Nithin's in the building. And we got Hector over at Uptown Sports TV. It's been a long time. Good to see you, Hector. Hope everything is well. He says Lindor is a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. And I think a lot of people here would agree with that statement. Shout out to Hector and the fellas and lady over at Uptown Sports TV. Okay. It is time that we get into our actually, wait, one more thing. I almost forgot. YouTube. Joe, let's talk YouTube.
Yes, we are live on Instagram and X, but YouTube is our preferred platform. Why? We can interact with you, the chat, live on the show. So do us a favor, go over to YouTube, type in Empire State of Baseball, and hit that subscribe button. It is free. Don't forget to like the latest video, like our meme reels, all the stuff that we work so hard on. We have over 540 subscribers and counting. If you help us by sending us to friends, family, etc., help us grow. We are doing a giveaway at 750 subscribers. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe.
Long way to go. 750 as we're staring down the barrel of 550 here on this January the 19th, 2026. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. All right. And also, by the way, he mentioned the YouTube shorts. Let's throw out one of those that Corey Faz put together this week. Take a look.
Avengers! Assemble.
Everybody going after the
Gonna get us
You're
flagged.
going to get nailed by YouTube, by the
Yeah.
way.
Good job, Rich. Getting us flagged.
What?
You're going to get copyrighted by YouTube for using that.
Well, I think we'll be fine. If they nail us, they nail us. But check out that. Well, then you should have been up there to begin with. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just promoting stuff here, guys. God damn it! Shout out to Corey Faz, all the hard work he does over on Instagram and YouTube, and all the reels there. So if we get flagged, we get flagged. If we don't, we don't. It is what it is. It's more to life than just fucking YouTube, I guess. All right, let's move on. We're gonna move on to our ESB results. This is Tom's favorite part
I'm gonna go
of
take a
our
piss.
annual.
I'll be back.
I'm just gonna put you on fucking mute. Actually, let's do that. I'm just gonna put you on mute. Let's be proactive
Can't
this
stop
year.
me.
What? How'd you do that? I didn't know you could do that.
Whew. A lot of stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna
All right, whatever. Well, anyway, we got the official ballots. The results are in on our ESBBWAA 2026. On behalf of the Empire State of Baseball, it is my honor to announce the 2026 Empire State of Baseball Writers Association of America selection for the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Votes were registered both by ballots
What
and
is that
polls,
yawn?
which were, I hate you so much, which were calculated towards the final percentage of each of the 27 nominees eligible for Cooperstown. All right, Tom, I told you we're going to rush through this. Our first inductee is no stranger to ESBBWAA election. He is an AL Rookie of the Year award winner, a 9-time All-Star, World Series champion, and one of the greatest switch hitters of all time. Puerto Rico, be proud. Your son, Carlos Beltran, is going to Cooperstown. Shout out to Carlos Beltran, who gets an 85.52% of the vote. Keith, we get Carlos Beltran in here thanks to our voters.
Yeah, man, I'm very proud actually as a Puerto Rican. I'm actually like, it's gonna be a little emotional for me because not only the Puerto Rican ties, he was a Met, he's going in as a Met, fantastic baseball player, not loved enough actually here in New York for silly reasons. What a baseball player he was to watch, honestly, truly awesome to watch. He was actually he was good everywhere he was at, honestly, and I'm really happy for him. I really do hope at some point he does get either the managerial or front office gig he's really dying for. He's a true baseball man. He's doing it. He's actually right now the general manager for Team Puerto Rico with the WBC coming up. So I just love what he does for the game. I remember reading actually the cheating scandal written by Andy Martino. And it's so funny how Andy Martino does point out the allegations towards him, but Andy Martino spent, and this is also Andy Martino, if you like him or if you don't, it is what it is. But Andy Martino dedicated a large portion of that book to every thing that Carlos Beltran has done for the game. He was very instrumental in bringing in interpreters for Latino players who couldn't speak English. You know, he used that platform to let Major League Baseball know that they're lacking in that department, and the Players Association came around and, helped them with that. And just a lot of things he's done for baseball. Obviously, the Astro stuff is always going to be on people's minds, but the baseball player himself, it was a joy to watch him. And I'm very, very proud that he's going in as one of the teams I rooted for, because we don't get a lot of those, truthfully. So it's going to be a dope moment, definitely.
Joe?
Yeah. And one thing we haven't mentioned, one of the great postseason hitters of all time.
Significantly.
His career postseason slugging percentage is .609. Over 200 bats. The only person who has got more is Babe Ruth.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the top sluggers in postseason history, and everybody remembers him for the strikeout with the Mets. It's crazy. No, 04 in Houston, he had probably the greatest series that I've ever seen. Greatest postseason, right? He had 435 and hit 8 home runs in 12 games. It's incredible. A champion, a guy that doesn't get enough credit. Absolutely a Hall of Famer, one of the best center fielders of his generation.
Now, Tom, I know you might not be the biggest fan of this induction, but I think you'll be a fan of this next one, because we're not done here, folks. Our second and final inductee is another ESBWAA favorite, a National League Hank Aaron Award winner, a 10-time Gold Glove Award winner, a 5-time All-Star, and a member of the Atlanta Braves Hall of Fame, the pride of Curacao. Andrew Jones is now a National Baseball Hall of Fame member. Again, another induction via the ESBWAA here, Thomas.
We got to stop saying he's a member of the National Baseball Hall of Fame because he's not yet. I think you're confusing people, if I'm being honest right now, Rich. He's in our Hall of Fame.
You're such a fucking idiot.
I'm just saying, man. Like, I think you're confusing people by saying
we're selling it. That's all it is. We're just selling it here, Tom.
Yeah, well,
have you ever watched a professional wrestling fucking match ever?
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that you sound like an idiot, and he made our Hall of Fame.
Says the one wearing sunglasses inside in fucking January. Are you kidding?
Yeah. No, I'm not. Well, no, I'm not kidding about that. I'm also not kidding that Andrew Jones deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and I really hope he is elected tomorrow. I'm happy he's in our Hall of Fame. Our Hall of Fame is prestigious also, just, maybe just not as prestigious as the one in Cooperstown. It lives on Rich's desk. But listen, Andrew Jones, I made my case for him. I hope he gets in. Looks like he got in on just about 80% of our ballots. So good on Andrew. Excited for you.
Andrew is in, Beltran is in, and that is it. So let's take a look at the results and how they shook out. Manny Ramirez was in third, and since this is his final ballot, he fell off our exercise. Just want to make sure that it's clear to the morons at home that thought this was real. Manny Ramirez, 62.15% of the vote. King Felix, A-Rod, Andy Pettit, and David Wright actually making the first page here of our 7 first nominees.
Manny getting 7% more of the vote than A-Rod is so fucking stupid.
Crazy, right?
It's so dumb. Mets fans are idiots.
So interesting vote distribution. We move on to the next page. K-Rod up to 31.45%. We're more on K-Rod in a little bit. Torrey Hunter, Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, Dustin Pedroia, Bobby Bray, Omar Vizquel, as we work our way down to the 15%. Now we're going to get into the folks that fall off the ballot completely outside of Mark Charlie,
voted for Howie Kendrick. What the
and
fuck?
Nick Markakis somehow.
Howie Kendrick. Oh my God.
Believe it or not everybody at least received one vote somewhere.
Gordon.
Somewhere,
Oh,
somehow,
God.
some way.
Rick
And I will talk
Porcello?
about this. Being a big Hall guy,
Porcello is
myself,
one of Cy Young.
Ah, fuck off.
the fact that there were
Not
votes for
saying.
certain people, I question
Well,
your
but just
baseball
what
knowledge and
happened-
fanhood.
Well, this is when you put this to a Twitter poll, so I don't really know what else you
Oh,
expect. You
no,
see
hold on a
these
second though.
animals.
That's not fair.
Gio Gonzalez. What
Thomas,
the fuck?
That's
man?
not fair because I've received
It is
ballots
fair.
that had some of these guys checked off.
Okay,
So
well,
it's
you
not
shouldn't
the Twitter
send those
thing.
people ballots anymore. I mean,
So
you should send them into rehab.
Gordon. My God.
It is
At least
crazy.
that
No,
kid's got MVP.
there were votes for some of these bottom guys. Last year, I think the only person to receive 0% of the overall vote was Ian Kinsler. So people are feeling generous, I guess, but a little wild. All right. As we continue to move into some of
Cy Young
Like
ever.
Titus
So,
O'Neil going to.
as we move into some of the wider stats, this is how the vote distribution works. So what we did was we took the overall percentage of yes votes on the poll and then the overall votes from the ballot, and we were able to come up with our average voting percentage, and that's how Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones got in. Now, if you look at the ballot for Andrew Jones, if we were just working off of ballots, Jones would not have gotten in. The only inductee would have been Beltran. But because we were weighing the ballot of the poll, he was able to get in with 79.99%. Carlos Beltran rocked on both ends. In the ballot and in the polls, he was the leader on both ends. So Beltran completely deserving of this. And then if we really want to dive into it, and I love diving into this number, the comparison from last year to this year, where was the percentage of change? Where were people voting more? K-Rod, who, funny enough, last year was in that bottom plateau of negative percentage votes. He actually had a almost 20% increase year over year in voting change, which is interesting. Carlos Beltran's 13.71% actually got him into this fraudulent ballot, but Beltran's in at the 85.52% market. Now, the ones who fell, Alex Rodriguez, Andy Pettit, New York Yankees, which is very interesting to me, Joe, that usually in when we're talking about the Yankees Twitter stratosphere, if we want to call it that, our Yankees Twitter community, you would think they would be fully behind some of our Yankees here, and they fell down in the voting distribution.
Clearly, we've added a lot of Mets followers.
We talked about A-Rod at length. I mean, we can get into the Andy Pettit stuff. Andy Pettit, the guy, was he ever an ace? Maybe for a year or two. There was a long time where Andy Pettit's not even the best pitcher on his own team. You know, Mike Mussina is a lot better pitcher of him, and I wasn't high on Mike Mussina being in the Hall of Fame. So Andy Pettit is the ideal number 2 starter. Like if you picture number 2 starter or number 3 starter in the dictionary, that's Andy Pettit.
Number 3 starter for Andy. That's now we're getting.
Well, he was.
He's also potentially the greatest postseason pitcher of all time.
No, Tom, come on. The greatest
for an entire career of being in the postseason. I mean,
Tom, do you know what his postseason ERA is? It's kissing 4. We act like this guy's Madison Bumgarner. Madison Bumgarner is the greatest postseason pitcher of all time. Kurt Schilling. You know what Kurt Schilling's postseason career ERA is? 2.1. Do you know what Madison Bumgarner's World Series ERA is? 0.0335. One guy scored
when you don't get there that often,
minutes.
you know, it's easier.
I'm just saying,
small sample size.
Pettit's a really good starting pitcher. You would take him in the middle of your rotation any day of the week. Ace? No, he's not.
I need to know
ace.
what crawl up people's ass with Francisco Rodriguez? Like, what was why? What did I miss something?
That was
That's
that was
a
a very
20% jump.
It's a massive jump.
It's not a Hall of Famer at all. Like, why would he even get a jump?
I think
That's
the thing
so silly.
with relief pitchers, I know we talked about this last year. We don't have to fully get into it. You know, one of the conversations obviously came up around Billy Wagner and his induction. And you look at ticket numbers to get into a Hall of Fame. And I wonder if a ticket exists for career saves leader. And I mean, I know K-Rod's obviously he's up there, but if you're making a case eventually down the line for guys like Kenley Jansen and Craig Kimbrell and Aroldis Chapman, I mean, K-Rod's in that conversation, I would think as well.
Yeah,
So again,
K-Rod is
Rich.
6th all time in saves. I mean, I don't think I have him in, but I think there's an argument for him.
Guys, if I'm hanging from a cliff and I need to trust a closer to get 3 outs to save my life, K-Rod goes much further than 6 down to make sure that I'm still walking and breathing the next day. I can tell you that right now.
Well, the K-Rod you rooted for, yes, absolutely. But there was an Angels K-Rod who was a dog.
But I mean, if you trusted him in a big game, you were really disappointed. And that's my thing with
those Angels teams. Trust
him. You better
him.
be a big game pitcher, man.
I don't know.
Tom, you might
he has more saves than Billy Wagner.
Tom,
he's saved 57 games. How many games did the Angels? Let's go look at this. Okay.
Listen,
Aroldis Chapman has a better case than K-Rod.
I don't know.
And he felt up his grandmother.
Okay.
Longevity for Aroldis Chapman is insane.
But K-Rod still has more saves than him.
I don't think it's just about
closed out a game of the World Series.
Chapman pitched in some of the most.
Andy Pettitte pitched a lot of World Series games, and that apparently didn't matter before. So
he lost as many World Series games as he won.
I don't think that's true.
I think you're putting on the rose.
Listen, Joe, you can go look through that. Listen, that's how it broke out. At the end of the day, Carlos Beltran, Andrew Jones, they get into
I got it right here. Do you want to know Andy Pettitte's World Series record? It's 5-4 with a 4.06 ERA.
So he won more games than he lost.
You're done. Again,
shit, man.
5 wins, 4 losses. I'm sorry.
You're wrong. So I want you to say hi. I want you to say
5-4. Put him into Sandy Koufax.
My name is Joe Pugliese. I was wrong.
I'm sorry. What do you do against the Marlins?
Wow.
Hi, my name is Joe Pugliese, and I was wrong. Just say it.
Well, I appreciate that, Tom. Rich, clip that.
Wait, let me ask. You guys, like with respect, you guys don't think like Andy Pettitte is like on the Zach Greinke level of Hall of Fame, right? Like
no, I don't think he is.
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
What's that?
No, I don't think.
Yeah, he's like. I think he's Hall of like very, very fucking good. I would say that.
Absolutely.
Andy Pettitte was a dog.
I never said it.
Yeah.
I never said he was. I'm just.
I mean, shit. Andy Pettitte. I wish I had an Andy Pettitte to root for at some point. Back in the days.
But he's 27, 28 years old. He's got 4.70. He's got 4 ERA in 4 consecutive seasons.
Yeah, the period of dominance is very, very minimal when you're looking at those.
There's not a lot of dominance
in the mid-90s. That's it.
Do you think the infatuation with him though is like?
He also pitched during the steroid era. I know he got pumped for steroids later.
That's one thing too. Yeah, and then Tom, to Tom's point too, is that like a lot of people kind of remember the certain big games he pitched and he dazzled, and like just the eye test for some people. They just remember those like small moments instead of like the whole thing. Like it's a sample size type, because there were some games. Yes, if you just think about some games he pitched, he was sensational in big moments for the Yankees in some of the best Yankee runs. But like the totality of everything is just, he's gonna miss out.
I think that because the Yankees won, they remember the big games he pitched when they won, and they forget about a lot of the bad games or the games that he didn't pitch so well when they lost. Like they don't remember in 2002, he gave up 4 runs in 3 innings when they were ousted in the playoffs right away. Like they don't remember, and so I think there's a lot of rose-colored glasses because some of the games that he didn't do so well got buried.
More so that he's like a cult hero in the Bronx.
He started in 97, he started 2 games and gave up 11 runs in 2 games. Like that goes by the wayside because he pitched well in 96, 98, but those kind of things kind of go the wayside. So he had more opportunity to be remembered than anybody else. And I think that's a big part.
Corey, I love you. I can't put up that comment you just put up here. Shout out to Corey Fast from afar, who's enjoying his vacation in Cancun. Shout out to Corey Fast. Tom?
Corey's comment doesn't even make sense. Corey, I think, has had 1 too many margaritas.
Yeah, he's drinking a lot. He's drinking a lot out there. Shout out to
Corey.
Love you, Corey.
I agree with him, though, on that comment.
We'll just
I
leave it there.
absolutely
But
agree with him.
It's incoherent. Doesn't even make
We'll close it from here because we're coming up on 9:20, and as we announced earlier on the Twitter page, we brought back extra innings after our post show. So make sure to join us on ESP Podcast on X. We have a new edition of Extra Innings as we're going to go through some Hall of Fame talk and talk about the inductions, well, the fraudulent fake inductions of Andrew Jones and Carlos Beltran. I got to throw that in there for Thomas because he thought I was confusing people.
Well, I mean, you put the real logo.
234 strong that I was actually going to induct them into the Hall of Fame when he knows for the last 4 years it's just been an exercise. But he's an idiot, and I have to throw that in now. Shout out to those who are a part of a Bronx take. That's not Thomas because Thomas doesn't enjoy Twitter and doesn't like any of you people. So shout out to those folks of a Bronx take.
I love Keith a lot.
Shout out to a Bronx take.
I like you too, bro.
Go live on Mondays at 1:00 p.m. Eastern time. Shout out Tom, Chris, Sierra, Joey, Rich are behind the microphone and the logo every single Monday. And make sure to check out our Friday space. That's our Met space. Queens Boulevard, hosted by Phil from Shirley. Phil from Shirley killing it over there on Queens Boulevard, man. I was like, how am I going to pass the baton from Keith to Phil? And
you passed it up. You passed it up. He's been awesome.
Guys, he's been crushing it. Been crushing it over there. But also, Keith, got to shout you out for everything you do, not only with us here at ESP NYM, but again, Shay and Sons. You've been killing it with the Out of the Park baseball streams. Been killing it with If I Speak. Tell the people about what's been going on with Shay and Sons and any upcoming projects that you got to let the people know about. Do it.
Yeah, probably gonna go live definitely this week, likely maybe Wednesday. Probably gonna talk some Bellinger news because that seems like the hot topic to talk about. The Mets
to be a Met.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know if that's likely, but we'll see. I don't know. The Bellinger stuff is a little, blurry right now, but we'll talk about it this Wednesday. I'll definitely have an Out of the Park stream this week. Hopefully soon, me and my ESB brothers, my Met brothers, we could get together and get our show off and going. And when the season starts, we'll definitely get uncomfortable conversations going. But for the most part, I'm here fully supportive of ESB. I'll be live mostly during the week, just giving my opinions on stuff. I'm not breaking no news or anything. You can do that with some of the other Met content creators who have nose rings and stuff like that. But I'm just here talking my talk, my honest take. So, I fully expect Boba Shit to be announced tomorrow. Wink, wink. If you know, you know. And yeah, man, ESB Familia all day, every day.
Oh, yeah, I know. No, thank you very much, Keith. Really do appreciate it. Looking forward to those uncomfortable conversations and what we have in store all together here as one big happy family. Thank you for subbing.
Also, too, if I do open spaces, I will continue to ask you, by the way.
Absolutely. You do your thing, man. You don't have to ask me at all. You just go.
Yeah.
You have my full-time approval 24/7.
Just
and
also,
by the way,
to do that, I'm going to still ask,
Just for y'all that are trying to figure out, okay, what are you guys now going to do in February? You've been doing this every 3 weeks. What's going on in February? Well, February is going to be the focus in on our player rankings. We do it every single year. It's a lot of fun. We have different episodes every single couple of days that we're going to reveal of our top 10s, our top 20s. But we kick things off with our top 20 starting pitchers list. That episode on Monday, February the 9th. And for the first time since we all started this rankings, it's not just going to be Tom, and it's not just going to be Joe, and it's not just going to be Corey and I that's going to be voting. Well, Keith is also going to be contributing towards the player rankings, and our very own Sierra will also be contributing towards the player rankings as well. Sierra, we love Sierra. Sierra's strong. So the 6 of us are going to combine, and Keith, you better take that call. But the 6 of us are going to combine on our top 10 to 20 player rankings, depending on what position. So we'll keep you guys all posted on all that in February. But that's it for Empire State of Baseball. We'll throw it around the room for final words. Tom, Joe, Keith, and then I'll take it home. Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, I got nothing. I don't know.
Just a shout out. Rich said it before. A shout out to Sierra. We're all thinking of her.
Yes.
Sierra's in a fight that none of us ever want to find ourselves in, but is one that she's going to win. And we hope that she knocks it out. KO first round.
Hell yeah.
Go.
ESB all day, every day. Shout out Carlos Beltran. Shout out Martin Luther King, my brother. And shout out Big C. We in here. Sierra Strong. You already know what it is, ESB.
We love you, Sierra. We're looking forward to your instant return to ESB. I know you're going to kick ass on our next space, which is coming up shortly, but I know you're going to kick Cancer's ass as well. So do that damn thing, C. We love you. Shout out to Tom and Joe. And again, to KEEF for subbing in for Corey. And shout out to Corey from afar. Hope you're enjoying your vacation. But folks, we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time for our next edition of Empire State of Baseball. Hopefully you enjoyed our little Hall of Fame exercise. Congratulations to Andrew Jones and Carlos Beltran. Hopefully the same fortune prevails tomorrow. We'll see you then. Take care.